So most people know what they should be doing with money. Save, budget, pay debt, buy cappuccinos, but still feel anxious and stuck and I guess even ashamed a lot of the times. And that's where financial coaching comes in. And today we are going to explore how tackling the emotional side of money can unlock confidence, action, and real progress for your clients. And today, happy to have a special guest with us, Samantha Sparkes, and looking forward to a fantastic episode. Good morning. Good morning. I haven't even had coffee yet. Why not? Because I don't know. I'm battling to get busy today. But anyway, here we go. Welcome. Episode 33, I believe, season 6, and we are in October. It is mind blowing. I don't know why I'm getting goosebumps, because that's not a cool thing for me. Time is running out. Anyways, hope you are doing fantastically well. Today in the show, we are diving a little bit into financial coaching. It's been a long time since we've done that. And I've got special guest Samantha Sparkes, and we are going to talk about her journey and her view around this, and sort of how this can really benefit you by understanding the value that this brings to your clients and your practice. But just from a practical point of view, what does it look like when you do financial coaching? And looking forward to that conversation with Samantha a little bit later. But of course, you know the story by now. If you're new here, by the way, good morning, warm welcome. But if you've been around with us for a long time, you know that we don't do this alone. And we have Nikki McDonald back today with the news and with the FBI. And then we've got FPI. I see sometimes these note takers and transcription services things. I'm talking about the FBI, which is not the same thing. This is the Financial Planning Institute. So we must train these models. But anyway, so we've got her here. We also have Igno. Igno is talking about the halo and the noose. Looking forward to another great story from Igno. And then Ben is back with the Efficiency Edge today, talking about build by design, not by default, which I really love. And then Lene has got just a couple of announcements, and then I'll get into the conversation with them. So let me say a warm good morning. Please say hi in the chat. If you haven't said hi to people yet, say hi. Say hi to us. Say hi to everybody else who's here. And please do that. Oh, look who's in the house first. Mr. Terence Tobin, of course. I hope you're doing well there, Terence. Good morning, Kobus. Nice to see you. Nigel, good morning. Goeiemorgen. Rudolf is here. Good morning, Rudolf. Nice to see you. Willem Bester is hier. So goeiemorgen, Willem. Elna, nice to see you as well. Elmien, goeiemorgen. Hope it's going well. Dr. Criswell, how's it? Hope you're doing well. Francis, goeiemorgen. Nice to see you. It's so lovely to see all these names come up over and over and over again every single week. Bianca, good morning, goeiemorgen, nice to see you. Ferdi, goeiemorgen, nice to see you as well. Khaleesi, I'm getting there, good morning, I hope you're doing well. Greg, good morning. Greg, I'm not yet going to attempt your surname properly, but that's my next challenge, I will get it right. Matsiri, good morning, nice to see you as well. Ryan, good morning, warm welcome. Jonita, goeiemorgen, nice to see you. Arun, good morning, nice to see you as well. We've got Tilo, I'm not sure. Good morning, nice to see you. Warm welcome. Neil Phillips, goeiemorgen, nice to see you. Yolanda, goeiemorgen, nice to see you as well. Thanks for joining us. Balwant, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got Mary, good morning, Mary. Tracy is here. Andre Boer is hier. So ek en Andre loop mekaar gereeld raak. So that's amazing. Nice to see you, Andre. Manette, good morning, nice to see you as well. And Zippo Zonke, good morning. Warm and welcome. Righty, ladies and gents, let's get the show on the road. And Nikki, take your time. I want to make some coffee. But here we go with the latest news.
Good morning, everybody listening, and good morning, Francois. I will take a little bit longer. I will speak slower so Francois can get his coffee. Just on the FBI thing, my husband loves to tell people that my wife works for the FBI, and then he says it very fast, and then they think, oh, yeah, and then he doesn't correct them. So it's an ongoing joke in the house here. So it has been a very, very busy week at the FSCA. We have got quite an update for you this morning. And I think the first thing that is the most important for everybody who is in financial planning practice at this point in time is that the updates to the Omni CBR risk rating was released for comment this week. Now, as you know, about 2 to 3 years ago, the initial Omni CBR framework was released, and it was extremely. It was a slog to get everything together. It didn't work quite well, and there was a lot of criticism about it. And then it was sort of scrapped by the FSCA. We didn't hear anything about it for quite some time. Then on the 6th of June this year, but Communication 12 of 25 was published by the FSCA, and this provided an update on the rollout and implementation of the conduct of business return. Now, that is what Omni CBR stand for, conduct of business return, which obviously links into the conduct of financial institutions bill that is going to come out hopefully this year still. So what they did this week was to release a new phase two of the roadmap for their new IRS system. Now, what is the IRS system? It is not the IRS in the US, the tax people. It is a multi year organizational wide digital transformation strategy that the FSA has embarked on. And the IRS is the system that they have implemented, that they are currently working on, that is going to do the returns and the record keeping for them. So they have rolled out the first phase of this. This is now done. Phase two is now being rolled out. Now, what does this mean? The current implementation phase, I'm reading this from the document that's in front of me, involves the finalization of a new automated risk model and supporting omni risk return. So, this is what your company will have to submit to the FSCA when you do your updated reviews, when you apply for licensing and those type of things. Now, consultation and engagement on the data contained in the Omni Risk Return forms a critical part of this phase in preparation for an industry pilot on the IRS scheduled for mid 2026. These outcomes are intended to help facilitate a smooth transition for both financial institutions and the FSCA for the ultimate go live of the IRS in September 2026. So it's just a little bit less than a year from now. Further information related to the industry pilot will be communicated in early 2026. Now, in the documents that were published on the FSCA website, you've got two that are very important. The first one is an Excel spreadsheet. It is the draft Omni Risk Return template. This will facilitate the consultation process, and obviously you will not fill in a Microsoft Excel if you give returns to the FSCA. It will all be in their system, but this is just to make sure that everybody understands exactly what will be expected from you. This is open for comment. Added to this Excel spreadsheet, there's also an explanatory guide, and I've read through both the documents. It is fairly comprehensive to tell you exactly what is needed from you. There's it explains to you exactly what they mean with certain words and certain sentences, and you then have to complete this document. It is open for comment at this point in time. There will also be workshops that will be held. So if you are interested, the information is on the FSCA's website. Monday 3 and Tuesday the 4th and Monday the 10th of November, there will be workshops. Now, I know, unfortunately, this coincides with the FBI's convention. So, FBI is going to try and come and organize a workshop with the FSCA as well for people who would rather attend our convention instead of that. You have got time until the 30th of November. to comment on this. Everybody that is involved in their own FSP and is responsible for giving feedback to the FSCA, please go and have a look at this. This is going to be what your returns to the FSCA is going to look like in future. It is going to be linked to your risk rating at the FSCA. This is extremely important. Please go and have a look and give comment. If you not want to give comment directly, and if you are an FBI member, you are welcome to send your comments to the FBI directly. You can send it to ceo@fbi.co.za, and we will incorporate it in our feedback that our advocacy committee puts together. Then that was not the only thing that came out this week. There are also new rules that the Ombud Council has published for public comment, linked to the rules for the pension funds adjudicator 2026. Now, these rules are not materially different to what the complaint handling process is or are currently, or new obligations on funds. It is only intended to enhance stakeholder clarity, fairness, efficiency, and transparency and coordination. Once again, you can find that on the Ombud Council website, and you are welcome to give comment on that on or before the 14th November of 2025. And then, as if the FSCA did not work enough this week, it seems like they're quiet the whole year, and then come to the end of the year, everything happens at once. But they are known for that. They actually joke about it themselves. The FSCA also published its integrated report yesterday, and it is available on their website. This report provides an overview of the FSCA's performance during the period 1 April 2024 to the 31st of March this year, dealing with regulation plans, operational matters, regulatory interventions, governance, and financial information. Interesting reading. Go have a look at it. Francois, I hope that you have got a cup of coffee so far. But that is it from me. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again next week.
Yes, Nikki, if there was a record in the Guinness Book of World Records, what's that thing called? I made it, literally and figuratively. But anyway, thank you very much for that. And I've got some questions, but you and I can chat about that, about the FSCA stuff, because I think it's something that I would want to talk about. Anyway, so next up, ladies and gents, here is Igno and Igno today talking about the halo and the news. Not the news, the news.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another Friday session on Propulsion, about stories and how to change your angle and change your life through stories. And I'd like to talk about this book today, The Halo and the News by Dorian Haroff and Graham Williams. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful business book about the power of stories. And well, I'm actually not going to talk about the book too much, because I want to talk about the title, which is The Halo and the News. What kind of stories do we tell ourselves? Because the difference between the halo and the news is the height. At some height it becomes a halo, and then it becomes something that's a news if the story is too low. So it's all about the stories we tell about ourselves and about our business. Do you tell uplifting stories about the industry, about yourself, about others in the industry, about what happens when policies pay out? Or do you talk about news stories about how difficult it is, how tough it is in these economic times, how difficult business is always? Because the one becomes a halo, it lifts you, it gives you wings. The other one becomes a noose, and it brings you down. And we have to wake up to our own stories. And to prove this, I'm going to read a story from this book. And the story is a young girl who asks her father, "Is it true that when we are asleep, we can wake up?" Her father responds, "Of course it's true." Then says the girl, "It must also be true that when we are awake, we can wake up more." Take time to wake up more to the stories you tell yourselves. Are they halos? Are they newses? make sure that the stories you tell about yourself, your business, your industry, your friends, your community lifts you and gives you wings. Have a super, super weekend.
Thanks very much, Igno. Short and sweet today, but again, powerful as ever. So next up, we have Ben and the Efficiency Edge today, talking about doing things by design and building by design instead of by default. Yes, Ben.
Good morning, everybody. As Francois said, I'm Ben, and this is this week's edition of the Efficiency Edge, the segment that makes your future self want to high-five you. So we've all been there. You've been to a conference, or you've been listening to an audiobook, and you get inspired, and you hear something, and you think, yo, that is brilliant. I need to implement that into my business. And you get back to your office, and you sit down and you open your laptop and the emails start to come in. The chaos kind of kicks off all around you. And that inspiration that you once heard seems to just sort of fade off into the distance. Now, it can become very easy to blame all that noise. But the truth is, most of us are building our businesses by default and not by design. And it doesn't matter if you have your own practice or not. It doesn't matter if you are network tied, if you're an IFA, you're part of a larger firm. How you work, how your client experience is shaped, how you spend your week, that's all yours for you to design. I know advisors who play golf every Wednesday and Friday. I know another advisor who does all his planning on Mondays and sees clients Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and does all his post-meeting follow-ups on Friday. So there's no one right way. But none of these things happen by accident. They all happen by design. So it doesn't really matter if it's your client onboarding process, how you run your review meetings. Maybe it's the questions you want to change up and when you're meeting with your clients, or if it's how you structure your week. If you don't do it intentionally and design it, then those things are just going to happen by default. And when I say default, I mean it's messy, it's inconsistent, it's stressful. We may be winging it each time. So we need to pause and think about, what do you want to do? And then you can build all around that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be on purpose. So my challenge this week is just take 15 minutes and sketch out your ideal week, or sketch out your onboarding process, your review meetings, new things that you want to build into your business. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you start to build your business around that and not the other way around. So that's your Efficiency Edge for today. I want you to go and make your future self proud.
Well done, Ben. You're still on screen, but anyway, well done. There you go. Fantastic. And next up, we have the quick announcements. We're really flying through today, right? So we might even get a chance today to really look at the comments and sort of respond to those a little bit. So if you've got any questions, any thoughts, anything, you're welcome to put them in the chat, and then we'll go through that as we go along. But first up, here's the quick announcement.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and things are heating up here at PROpulsion. So I have this fan here to keep us cool while we run through the announcements. Let's go. So first up, friends, Ascend is next week, the 7th of October. You are not going to want to miss this one. It's going to be a high energy morning packed with incredible keynotes, fresh ideas and strategies that you can use to take your practice into the future. And yes, CPD is on the line too. So if you haven't registered yet or booked your seat, please do so. Click the link in the description. If you're a member, you're getting free. Just have a visit on our platform. And if you're not a member, hop onto our website and purchase your ticket there and join us for Ascend next week. We'll see you there. Then secondly, Digital Lockdown Episode 3, with Francois teaming up with Michael Mulder from Innate, and they are going to separate the tech hype from what actually matters. So if you've ever wondered which advisor tech is worth your time, this is exactly where you'll be finding that out. And that's happening on the 23rd of October at 9 in the morning. Please have a look down in the description. There will be a registration link to book your seat for that. So go and register now. And finally, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, like and share this episode. We're building this community one click at a time, and your support really does make all the difference. So please help us with that. And if Ascend doesn't blow you away next week, this time definitely will. So I'm going to see you there and have a great weekend. Let's get back to the show. Bye!
Fantastic. Right. So today I'm excited to welcome Samantha Sparkes. She's a personal finance coach with a master's in industrial psychology and specialist training in financial coaching. Having faced her own financial fears during divorce and single motherhood, Sam now helps women change their money stories, build confidence, and learn the practical skills that lead to financial security. So Samantha, or Sam, as I've come to know you, warm welcome to PROpulsion Live.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And I must say the fact that it is live is absolutely terrifying. There's no editing available to me. So, phew.
That's how it goes, eh? But you'll see by the end of this, by the second question, we're into it and things just run smoothly and you forget that Alice exists and it's just you and I having a conversation. So it's going to be fun and I'm really looking forward. And I'm glad that we have a bit more time today to actually maybe get a little bit more into things and get through more of the questions that I've got for you. But I think it'll be good for us to start right at the beginning because there might be some people here who are avid, because that's usually the case. When we talk about certain topics, the people who are fans of those topics tend to show up. But we want to get the message out to more people, right? So let's just start there at the beginning. What exactly is financial coaching in your own words?
Okay. So my definition for myself, it's the psychology of money. So as you said, I've got a background in psychology. And when I learned that there was such a thing as financial coaching, I was so excited about it because it brings in two things I'm very passionate about, is understanding the human psyche and human behavior, and then personal finance, which, you gave a little bit of an indication of my personal story coming from a position of divorce, being completely not well off at all, trying to pick up the pieces after that. So it brings in the two things that I'm very passionate about. And what financial coaching does is it helps a person to improve their relationship with money. It helps them to get more discipline around it. And a big component of it is financial literacy.
And how is it different then from financial advice? Because you're not a financial advisor, right?
No.
So in your mind, how is it different from financial advice? And I mean, do you find that clients get confused between the two, or is it very clear about what's happening? Sort of just maybe your view around those two as well. Because I think financial coaching is one of those things, like, people hear the word coaching and everybody's again got their own idea around it. So I think the way that you word it is absolutely amazing. But then what is the distinction between that, helping people with their money stories basically, and then looking at it from a financial advice point of view, like where's the line and what's the difference?
Yeah. That line is a very clear one. When you study financial coaching, you really have to understand your mandate properly. And I think financial advice is very much a governed, licensed, accredited profession. And, what's different with financial coaching is we look at the messy human emotions behind the money. So we look at the behavior of a person. We look at their money stories. We look at their the baggage that they have with money and their dysfunctional behaviors that they've got, such as impulsive spending, helping them. In a way, this is probably not the right thing to say, but I always think of it as reparenting my clients who haven't had good role models when it comes to money, and helping them to develop the discipline and helping to educate them around how we can use money to serve us better. So the distinctions are very clear. I will never offer advice. I will never say, buy this and this and this retirement annuity. What I will do is I will help my client to understand that one should be providing for retirement, and that a financial advisor, this is their scope. This is something that they offer. But what I do is I help a person to be ready, to be able to understand that retirement is inevitable. They're going to have to start setting aside money for that. That is a wise thing to do with our money. So, there's the one is the more transactional, technical side of money. And then I think of what I do is I deal with the messy human emotion component of it.
Yeah, that's very well put, because that is a challenge, right? And I think often clients do not see the value of a financial advisor or a financial planner for that matter. And part of it is probably, I think there's sort of two sides to that maybe. The one side is that they will never see the value of financial advisor because they yourself kind of people. And then there's other people who might start seeing the value once they understand why they behave in a certain way, etc. But let's in a little bit into the please.
Can I just say that you said people, my kind of clients might not approach a financial advisor. My kind of clients are terrified of financial advisors. It is, they almost feel like they're going to be exposed because they are so nervous about money, and they feel that they've made, some quite bad decisions in the past. So they're intimidated. So they might approach a financial advisor, but they might not be emotionally ready for that.
Yeah, and that's sort of actually my next question. If we can delve in a little bit more into the emotional side of money. And I guess the very first question, obviously a lot of people feel a lot of anxiety, but very much more maybe shame even than probably the shame that then leads to the anxiety that then leads to not doing anything about it. Yeah. As a financial coach, how do you create a safe space for them to start dealing with those things or to face those?
I think we start off incredibly slowly. We start off trying to build trust, and we start off very, very gently. So before someone has their first proper session with me, I give them quite a lot of homework to do in projective techniques, trying for them to come to terms with some of the scars, some of the baggage that they have with regard to money, maybe from their upbringing or from difficult things which has happened in their adult life. So we start off really small, and I also share part of my story. A lot of my clients really identify where I came from and how I experienced money and how I've managed to progress to where I am now. So we start off small, and it's very much a systematic approach. So we have these little building blocks, but the building trust with my client is the most important thing.
I guess like that's the interesting thing, right? It's exactly the same, you know, because if you're in anything to do with money, has to be built on trust. I think it doesn't matter actually where in the profession you play from that point of view, but also everything that we're talking about. Obviously, there's emotions involved. And emotions are really the things, you know, logically we can figure things out for ourselves, but then the emotional, that's almost like in my mind, the saboteur of the whole action film. Yeah. It's the emotions. And how, I mean, can you give some practical, maybe just stories or examples of how those things play out and what it would look like in practice, so you can sort of, maybe by having a conversation with the client, start identifying that there's deeper things at play here?
Yeah, look, I mean, emotions lie behind all of our financial decisions. And, you know, a lot of my clients, they might have the knowledge. They might have read a book on personal finance. Some of them come to me and they've done a course on personal finance, like an online learning course or something. But they just cannot implement that advice. They know what they should be doing. They know that they should be trying to tackle their debts. They know that they should be saving. They should have investments. They should be putting money aside for their children's future, etc., etc. But they can't do it. They've got these massive blocks. So I run a series of between 6 and 8 sessions as an initial guide, and we really start to unpack the emotions that people have around money, and we start to get them ready to be able to cope with that and to make those wise financial decisions. If I think about a particular client of mine, if you want a practical example, let's call her Lily. So she was referred to me by Susan Mercer, who is a financial advisor who studied with me at the University of the Free State. And so she knows where financial coaching comes in and how it can be supportive. So she recommended that Lily come and see me. And when I started off with Lily, what became incredibly evident is that her self-limiting beliefs started off in childhood. So it was interesting when Ichno's clip came in. I hadn't seen it before, and he was talking about a halo and a noose. So for Lily, the noose was this family narrative that they are terrible with money. So Lily came from a mother-headed household, and it was just her and her sisters. And they had this family narrative: we are terrible with money. We don't know how to manage it. And Lily found herself waking up in her late 40s with nothing set aside for the future, and no savings, some debt. And Susan asked me to work with her just to get to a point where she could start investing in, just maybe a retirement annuity, maybe tax-free savings. And she wasn't in that place at that time. So we started off very basically, just to be exposed to your own numbers. You know, a lot of my clients are afraid to open their bank statements. They feel so out of control that they so terrified with what the reality is. So I really sit with them, handhold. We look at budgets. We start to put budgets in place. So I even get to the point with them where we look at where's your money going, and we have raucous debates about which subscriptions are required, which subscriptions aren't required, with the objective of freeing up cash for a number of wise decisions to be made. With Lily, we got to the point where she was a lot more excited and open to the future. She had been very much dreading what the future was going to hold for her. She started to be able to purchase certain products, and her mindset started to change about money. And I could see the positive impact it was having with her whole family. So with her sisters and her mom, she started to have these conversations, and to the point where after a long dry spell in her personal life, she met the man of her dreams. And where we're at currently now is helping the two of them navigate my money, your money, our money, that terrible mess and conflict that comes when two individuals come together with different money personalities.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, like, I guess the question that sort of I'm listening to like Susan recognizing that there's something else that needs to be done here, handing it off to you. So she knew what financial coaching was because you said you studied together. She chose not to work with them in that way, but to rather hand it off to somebody who only does that. I think the natural inclination in financial planning and advice in like globally, but I mean, I would say definitely in South Africa from my experience is that as financial advisors and planners, we often want to do everything ourselves. So I want to learn how to be a coach. I want to learn how to be a good financial planner. I want to learn how to be a great businessman. I want to like all of these things. And I guess it's horses for courses, I would assume. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not necessary for an advisor or a planner to want to build these skills and do everything themselves. There's sort of two ways that you can go about this. And I mean, just maybe from your side, how did you find, or I mean, how did Susan now come back into that picture? Because now you're working with them on this, and then obviously Susan should be and must be part of that process. But how does that work now, where she basically outsourced this to you, and you doing your work, and she focuses on what she wants to do? So what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Susan's her website is wealth coaching. So she does have people who approach her who want just coaching. But she's got such a busy financial advisory practice that even though she's got the skills to do the coaching, she doesn't necessarily have the time. But because of her studies, she realizes the benefits of coaching. So how it works is when she recommends a client to me, they remain her client. So I work on a very different level with the client. And I also work on a very different fee structure. So I'm not commission based. I am paid per session. And we keep in contact with the client because it is her client that I am working with to become a client who's able to do more wise decisions, who's able to stick to the plan, who's able to have more discretionary income to be able to invest in better products for themselves to protect themselves and their family.
Thanks, Sam. So, I mean, let's get a little bit into the sort of the practical side of it. There's sort of two things that, if I'm hearing you correctly, and if I'm listening properly, that there's sort of two parts to the process that the coaching focuses on. There's the educational part, teaching them skills and knowledge and things. But as you said, many of them already have the knowledge. They're just not, their behavior is sort of doing something different. And then the other side to it is the emotional side and managing those emotions and helping them understand and then changing or using that to change their behaviors. How do you balance that teaching with addressing the emotions kind of thing? Like how does that work?
Yeah. Well, we start on an emotional, psychological level. So we really start from your childhood, your money story, your money personality. We've got various psychometric tests for money personality. We go into what are the behaviors that are driving you crazy as a client. So very often things like impulsive spending, not being able to say no to your family, we deal with quite a lot of those. That's almost like the first 3 sessions with homework in between is actually just about understanding your as-is picture. And then we go more then into the goals, and we go from the noose to the halo. What excites you? What do you want to achieve for yourself and your family? So we start off when it's not gentle, because it's not gentle at all, but we start off with the softer stuff, and then we move into skills such as how to create a budget, how to stick to a budget, how to start paying off debt. So we move into that, but it's never then, okay, we're going to stick to budgeting now. Because for a lot of people, for example, budgeting brings up all of those childhood emotions about lack. You not being the kid who could have the expensive tackies, or you were the kid who couldn't go on school trips because your family couldn't afford it. So it's never just a skill. It's a skill which is intertwined with all the emotions and all the messiness of the human experience. So then I have to deal with that as they arise. And very often what you might see as reluctance or resistance, there is an emotional reason behind it. And we have to uncover that before we can move on to the next tool, the next skill, the next technique.
Yeah. And then, look, I want to make it a little bit more practical. So the psychometric testing side of it, I mean, client fills it in. There's a report. If I recall from what I've seen before, it is like there might be a version that goes to them, and there's a different version that comes to you, because you look at it from a different point of view. But they also need to understand what they're reading. So they sort of those two, and then there's a conversation that takes place off the back of that. What kind of questions? Like if you start unpacking their childhood stories, sort of seeing what's happened and understanding where they're coming from, and what might be influencing this, what maybe a couple of types of questions that you would ask in those early stages to start to one build the confidence, build the trust, and get them to open up to you, but also to extract very valuable information at the same time.
Yeah. A lot of it is just about asking the right questions. So you really just start off with, what was money like in your family? How was money spoken about? Did your parents speak about money? Did they fight about money? When did you first become aware of what money was? When did you spend your first money? What social economic class were you from, and how did that make you feel? So we go into those deeper questions, but then people also don't know what they don't know. So if I see that someone might be having, for example, an impulsive spending problem, it's for them to journal around that. And then we will go right down to the nitty gritty. So you overspend this month on clothing. What did you buy? So you bought a black dress. How many other black dresses do you have in your cupboard? What did that black dress symbolize to you? And then it comes up about wanting to, for example, look the part, for people to respect you. And then you go into, so where in your previous life did you feel that you were disrespected, and how does money act as a proxy for respect for you? And it's not so easy to do this if you don't have a strong coaching background. So that's why some financial advisors find it quite out of their comfort zone, is to start asking all of these questions in a coaching manner that is going to elicit the real underlying baggage and challenges that client is experiencing.
Here's a random question just in between, right? Before I go into the next, because that's very, very valuable. But here's a random question that just popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I think about I don't know much about your story, Samantha, but I mean the little bit that I know about the challenges that you've had with going through divorce and being a single mom and having your own things to go through. do you think something that lived experience is really necessary to be, does it make you a better financial coach in this instance because you've gone through a similar thing than many of your clients maybe have a different level of understanding of where they are coming from, or is lived experience, is it a bonus? Is it a necessity? Is it, yeah?
Yeah. No, it's definitely not a necessity. Anyone can coach. You don't have to even be a subject matter expert to be a really good coach. What I find is because my clientele is mostly women, and I also work with couples, is that they appreciate that I have my own war stories. And sometimes they will read my website and read my life story and identify with me because they might feel that I will come from a place of non-judgment, for example. And I haven't, I've set myself up as someone who is just as flawed and just as vulnerable and has also made stupid financial decisions, but that there is hope. And what these guys are looking for is hope. They want someone to tell them that they're okay, they're going to be fine, and if they just work the program, life will turn out fine because they are when they come to me, they're in a great deal of pain. So to answer your question, it's not necessary, but in my practice, it helps a lot.
Thanks for that. And let's talk a little bit about challenges and objections or things that make it a little bit harder to work with people sometimes. And also the challenges and obstacles that people face a lot of the times. And I guess one of the things I want to ask you before I get into that is also, I know that you prefer to work with women, and you also mentioned that you also do work with couples. In that scenario, though, of working with couples, do you find that women are more open to this kind of thing and men are more resistant to that, or does it very much depend on them as a couple and sort of their view of the world and what they are trying to achieve? Or is it usually that one person wants to fix this and the other one is tagging along, whichever one it might be? But what does that look like in real life?
I love my work with couples. I think it is more important even than dealing with the one-on-one because the individuals who come to me, they're only half of the problem if they're in a relationship, obviously. So when the two of them come together, then all of the dynamics are exposed. And it's fairly typical for the woman to take a secondary role in the finances in the relationship. Not always, but it seems to be fairly predominant. But then I also find when we dig into things that actually the husband would love the wife to be more informed, to care more about it, to help making the decision, because very often that husband is carrying the burden of the family's future by himself, and he would love to have more of a equal relationship when it comes to personal finance and making those decisions. So when that is brought out and all of the boundaries are renegotiated and they start to work on things together, like having money dates and talking about the budget and talking about their spending plan, then things start to improve. And it's funny, when things are going well with regard to money, things really improve in that couple's quality of life.
Yeah, that's so important. And do you see, is there a difference between the way that, let's just say you work with a woman or a couple and whether they are employed people or whether they are entrepreneurs? Do you see different kinds of challenges? Is it all the same thing? Are there any nuances between those?
I actually have a lot of people that I work with who are entrepreneurs, and that struggle is real. It's on a different level. There's a lot of fluctuation in income, and if I just talk about the individual female clients that I have in the entrepreneurial space, couple of things that they do wrong. One of the things that they do wrong is not to separate business and personal finances. It is all one big mess. And I even have a client who has a PTY limited who wasn't aware that there's a whole lot of statutory regulations around this and additional help required from an accountant. And so it's to really separate out the business and personal, and then to help them to weather all of the seasonal fluctuations, for example. So to have a buffer account, to pay themselves a set salary, to have a very strong emergency fund, to have a budget for business and a budget for personal. A lot of them don't even know that you're supposed to do these things. They don't even know that it's best practice. They are just muddling along to the best of their ability, trying to earn a living when maybe they had been looking for employment and the default was being an entrepreneur. And obviously, I can only talk for my clients. There are lots of very successful entrepreneurs out there who've managed to get this right and who are making a killing. But for my clients, it's a lot more messiness seems to come in the entrepreneurial space than to come into the maybe corporate executive space. And how that plays out in a couple. Well, I've got one couple client where the wife is an entrepreneur and the husband has the set salary. And it causes such a huge amount of disagreements because, when money is flush with the wife, then it's holidays and it's Toblerone chocolate instead of Beacon. And in the lean months, then it's back to, bread and water. And that leads to so many arguments. So it's about to try and get some sort of stabilizing practices in place for them.
Look, I understand the world of the entrepreneur intimately. I have had a good run at it, and many of the things you're talking about are like those are my first. Well, in this venture I'm in now, like the first 5-6 years, like although. I think we had things in place, but there were so many things. You're just trying to survive, and you should do this, but you do that, and then but once you get those things in place and the structures in place, and you do all the things that you were talking about, there's a kind of peace that comes with that.
Yeah.
That you actually can't explain to someone unless they experience that, right? So
Sure.
those structures, knowledge, excuse me, all those things are so important. And
I also find with entrepreneurs is they are reluctant to invest in long-term policies, for example, like a retirement annuity, because they don't know if they're going to be able to sustain those monthly costs. So they're reluctant to go into it. It's like everything, they would rather rent than buy a property because they want things to be a lot more flexible. So they're not as, in my experience, as amenable to the financial advisory than they are. They just try and manage everything themselves. So it's very tricky with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. There's so many things that play there. Let's quickly talk about coaches and advisors collaborating and working together. I mean, I guess the question is, why should they collaborate? Why should they? Because let's just assume that somebody is not interested. Like somebody's sitting here, this coaching thing, not for me. So they're a bit skeptical on the one end. Or there's people here that will say like, oh, this is like something what I don't want to do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the inclination. I don't like the emotional side of it. I'm a very practical person. Why and how does an advisor or a planner collaborate with a coach, and what does that interplay look like?
Yeah. I kind of see us as two halves of a whole. You can have the best financial plan, you can have the best advice possible, but if someone is unable, unwilling, incapable of following through on that advice, it's not time well spent having put that all together. So it works really well when advisors and coaches work together for particular clients. So not every client needs coaching. Many clients, I would imagine, who come to financial advisors have their ducks in a row, and they are they definitely don't require coaching. But you get some clients who are just not meeting their full potential, or who are reluctant and resistant to the advice that is being given. There might be a coaching opportunity there. You might find with a couple that you're dealing with a couple that there is such a disconnect between their relationship with money and their money behaviors and their money scripts, that finding common ground is incredibly difficult. So you're not going to play marriage advisor as well as financial advisor, but that is where coaching can play a really good role in improving that relationship, getting them on the same page, and getting them ready to commit to the same goals and to a pathway to achieve those goals.
Amazing. So what would be, I mean, obviously I can see like Neil asked like, oh, how do they get in touch with you? And like, if they've got clients with a need, or they ever need to work with clients in this way, how can people get in contact with you or follow you or learn more?
I'm on LinkedIn. I have a website, Samantha-Sparkes.com. And if they want to learn more about financial coaching, Hendrik Crawford is amazing. He runs, I did his 12-month program at the University of Free State. He's got purpose-driven financial coaching, like a little group that he works with. I would love for financial advisors to test the waters, get a financial coach to support them and assist them, and let's start working together. Financial coaching is brand new in South Africa. The UFS course has it launched in 2023, so we are really at the beginning. And I would hope that financial advisors would see financial coaching as a secret weapon to improve their practice.
Amazing stuff. Is there any question that you hoped that I would ask and wanted me to ask that I probably didn't ask? Well, we have a bit more, like a couple of minutes still. Is there any question that you wish I asked you that I didn't?
No, but maybe there's a question from the audience that I could answer.
Well, let me grab a look. There's a lot of comments here. But no real questions. I guess let me ask you this. What excites you most about where the field of financial coaching specifically is going? And do you see it as a complete specialization field, or do you see it as an add-on that advisors can bring in-house for themselves? From that point of view, like maybe those two questions rolled into one.
Okay. What I'm most excited about is the whole couple coaching, because I really believe that, given the divorce statistics and the fact that money is at the root of a lot of marital discord, I also believe that personal therapy is not necessarily geared to help people with money. I'm very excited about that, because I also believe that couples should have a joint financial plan. They should see their advisor together. They should be equal partners in their futures together. And I believe that financial coaching has got a very important role to play in that. Sorry, I forgot. What is the second part of your question?
No, I also can't remember. It went.
I think we need another cup of coffee.
Yeah, but it's good. We can end there. I'm going to say to you, massive thank you, Samantha. It was really awesome to talk to you on the show. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, for everything that you shared. You really got a gift in sharing. I just want to share that with you as well, if I may. So thank you very much for that. And please go and connect with her on LinkedIn. Have a look at the website and learn more about Samantha. Now she can maybe help you and your clients. If you're not, even if you want to understand what that journey is like to become a financial coach, I'm pretty sure she'll be happy to chat to you as well. But Samantha, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Fantastic. Another good show. There's the goosebumps. Can you see them? No, you can't. Goosebumps. That was fantastic. So, Samantha, once again, thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. And until then, you know what to do, right? Stay safe, be blessed and prosper, and continue to raise the bar. And very importantly, stay curious. Love you lots.